things, pretend like you know shit,
Yeah.
talk to like
Yeah.
uncles who are like 50 years
Oh, you
old,
have to because they throw you out there.
Yeah.
Back then they just throw it out into the wild.
But those are the best guys you can learn things from. So you
Yeah,
stay
school of hard
humble,
knocks.
speak with them,
Yeah.
ask them, just thicken up your face. You can learn a lot.
Yeah.
Even now these days we go to site, we talk to this,
Yeah.
Sifu and all.
Yeah.
They
That's how you
share the
learn.
best
To be
experiences.
honest, the site is the best way to learn, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of younger generation they're afraid of making mistakes, right? So that's why they don't like throw themselves into the project because they feel like I don't want to disappoint anyone. So to mitigate as much errors as possible, I just like wait for instructions.
Yeah.
But our generation, I think our age, I don't know how old you are, but I mean you look great, man. But I'm assuming you're more than 30, right? So like our generation was like, yeah, you just figure it out. That's how our boss just like threw us into the site,
Yeah.
right? So the mistakes that we make actually is what helped informed our knowledge and understanding of the project and the design, And so we came from a culture of embracing the mistakes.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's good, man. Like
Well, I
it's
try
okay.
to advocate myself to ask stupid questions as well.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one stupid question out of the way, like you
You're closer
have
to
one less stupid question to ask
yeah.
already.
Put the ego aside and just like I always tell like if I talk to students and stuff, right? Like if they ask me like what advice can I give them, I say, I've been doing this for 10 years, right? Not including my studies. But I still see myself as a student. Meaning I don't walk in a room like I'm Mr. Big Shot. Like I still go like I don't know, I'm trying to figure this out. Every project is like it's gonna humble me. And that actually is actually less stressful because you don't come in with this like I have 10 years experience, I have these awards, so I know I should know everything. No, I go in like, okay, tell me what I gotta know. I share with you what I know. What I don't know, I'm just gonna be clear about it. I think that definitely like it's
Yeah.
much easier to handle yourself, in terms of pressure and expectations.
It's also a blessing that how many different type of projects that we work with, that
Yeah.
every single brief is different,
Yeah.
and then you learn something from the client as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
There's always something new to gain from that project. So if you make a mistake, to me it's like it's all right. Let's learn from that mistake. Just don't view it as a negative. View it as a learning curve. Hopefully it's a learning curve that doesn't cost too much lah. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the only
That's always
setback.
the-
Yeah. It all comes down to numbers, but that's the industry. They get it. So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
All right. Just a quick introduction, right?
Sure.
We have Kash here, Kash.
SH. Yeah.
Right. What's your full name?
Kashfi Ime bin Sakib Araslan Ime. You want my IC number as well?
10 years experience in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Focus on projects, commercial,
Yes.
retail,
Retail space.
and one main accomplishment that you felt proud of
Yeah.
was starting your firm, your own studio
Yeah.
in 2019.
Yeah.
And one thing people don't know about, you play music as well.
Yes.
You
I
used to run shows as well, right?
Yeah. Back in the younger rock days,
Rock days.
Yeah. Now I play like quiet songs so that my kids don't, wake up from their sleeps. Yeah.
So perhaps what we can start off with, let's just talk in the macro
Sure.
scale, talking about industry a bit. Like, what's the one main difference that sets apart your expectation and the reality of what you're experiencing right now of the industry?
I guess I've always saw that as designers, we had this ability to like explore and experiment with things, right? So I've always thought that was what I was going to encounter when I joined the industry. But then I realized there's a lot of balance between clients or the industry with interesting things and just very simple and objective things. So it's not like I think I romanticize the idea that if I become a designer, it's like I'm gonna like design like wacky things and crazy things and out of this world. But then you realize that actually if you want to do that, you got to be an artist. But if you want to be a designer, you're actually like providing a service. You're actually trying to solve problems rather than venture out to express your own creativity. It's really more as a designer, like you are like it's like I mean I don't want to compare us as doctors, but like in a way like we're here to like solve a problem, So that was what sort of like a wake up call of what my role is in the industry, to offer a solution to people, but through a creative way, through a skin of aesthetics and poetry a little bit. Yeah.
I think I learned a little bit of that part of you having to share the stage of being a crit at MIA
Oh,
last
okay.
year. You know,
Whoa,
that's
whoa, whoa, whoa.
I picked up like that perspective of yours.
Right.
You know, trying to romanticize things and at the same time balance
Yeah.
what really reality can really offer.
Yeah.
You know, not just try to push boundaries, just
And
being naive about it.
correct. And I think that's like the challenge of us as designers to like understand that, you know, being a designer, it requires a sense of awareness to what you are actually doing. Now, there's a self awareness that's required for you to practice being a designer because, again, you know, like I think none of us woke up and like, okay, I want to be an interior architect. You know, you don't know what an interior architect or interior designer is or what a designer is. You just know that you are creative or you like stuff that's different than other people, right? So everybody like has a journey. Like some people who are more attracted to academic, some people are more attracted to sports, and then you have people like us. We are just more attracted to things that are more visual, more pretty. But we couldn't articulate that as designer. We just knew that I don't want to do math. I rather like draw comics and stuff. I used to draw comics all the time, but I never saw myself as a creative. I just thought I was like lazy or I didn't like school. So I'm like I just want to draw.
Hobby
And
lah.
yeah, so I had this guy, this friend of mine. We just keep drawing comics together all the time. So you to me like but for us to jump into interior design or architecture, there's a more objective and intellectual thinking there, but the foundation is that you're just creative. You just want to do you just want to create pretty things. But the reality of being a designer is not just doing pretty things. It's doing pretty things with reasoning, with objective, with problem solving. So I think you articulate that very well in your Instagram and your reels. You really explain the complexity and the technical aspect of what designers offer in the industry. And those are things that require knowledge and experience.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
appreciate that
it
because
sounds like what we do is really tough. It is.
it is, it
It
is.
is very tough. But we don't see it as tough because we like it. You know? Yeah.
And it's also a trick to try to put this in the layman terms to make it
Exactly.
easy, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
When I realized when I got very technical with the video that I do,
People
it's like,
don't.
oh, they lose interest,
Yeah, because
including
they
my wife.
no, no, you yeah. Well, I mean, you don't lose interest from people of the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, because if you're trying to target, I guess, a healthy mix, so you gotta keep things a little bit balanced. If it's too technical, then you only get like the professionals who like appreciate it, but the layman will be like, what are you talking about? Like you channel, groove line, like stuff that I couldn't be bothered. You know, yeah. So you gotta find that balance, lah.
To couple on with that realization that you just shared,
Yeah.
what is like that one thing that you wish you had known when you were younger entering this industry? Like, it could be something that you realized through
Yeah.
college and up to doing
I
what
guess
you
the
do now.
business part of it, you know, because like we got so caught up with the idea of being a creative and like the idea of designing, but to run your own studio, it requires a lot of business understanding, which you're not really trained for in
Absolutely
school,
not.
right? You know, so like profit margins, ROI, overhead, tax, all those things you learn by doing, and that's a very costly way of learning, right? You know, so I mean the idea of LHDN was so foreign to me, right? I pay my taxes in that area, but yeah, that the business aspect of it was not something that I sort of anticipated. And when it hit me, you know, that what I'm trying to do is it has to be profitable, it has to be financially sustainable, then those are things I sort of like have to learn. Oh, okay, whilst I'm also trying to hone my creative skills, you know. So it brings the question: are you a designer first or a businessman 1st? Especially when you run your own studio.
So after 5 years, where do you put yourself at?
Still don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah.
Before you started this business then, have you, what sort of experience that you had before?
Well, I mean, I've been running my own design for 10 years. Okay, but StudioThree has been around for 5 years, right?
Yeah, I've been following you since then.
Yeah, thanks, man. And
Since Pantai
yeah,
Hillpark.
yeah, man, yeah. No, well, that was a different
Yeah,
studio.
that was a-
That was before StudioThree.
Oh.
So I called it StudioThree because it's the third studio that
Yeah.
I built, right? And I mean, I worked with a different partner before. I worked at a construction firm before, and but it was quick ones, like a year plus, you know. And I did quite a long internship at a very prestigious architecture firm. That's where I really got like a taste of what this industry is. You know, during my degree, I did like 6 months, and then I did an extra 3 months because I really liked the projects that we worked on. You know, but it's a very the company that I worked at was very tough. You know, it's considered to be one of the toughest. But that's where really I sort of had this like really like how do you say like decision like crossroad like because it was really tough. It made me like I don't want to do this anymore, and I was just doing my internship, right? But it sort of made me ask myself like, you sure you want to do this like design? Are you sure you want to like pursue interior architecture? Because this is the life. So what like sort of like sparked in my head was like, okay, I love the industry. I just don't like this company because of the work culture. So what if I start my own practice? And that was how I've sort of inception myself into like, okay, down the road, the goal is to start my own practice. So whatever I navigated, there was that subconscious idea that okay, eventually I'll start my own practice. So whilst I was working, I did a little freelance, and then okay, slowly let go of the company, and then the freelance became a real company, and then ventured into a partnership, and the partnership didn't work. Next thing you know, like I left that partnership, and I started StudioThree. So that was 5 years ago, and that was when I was like sort of comfortable in my skin as a designer. I find that okay, you know, I think I have a voice, you know, at like 28 years old, 27 years old, after like 7 years of trying things out. So now it's just I'm like I'm still figuring things out, but I think the keyword is more comfortable. Like I see myself as a designer now. Yeah, and I think a lot of designers always have like a chip on their shoulder, like, am I the best? Am I good? And then you see all this because we have so much talent in KL, so you can't help but compare yourself, you know. And these people that I compare myself with, they're like good friends of mine, you know. So it's a very healthy competition, right? So now at this age and this level of experience, I'm just like I'm not so much competing with people. I'm just competing with myself. I'm just trying to like do what I do best and
Is this
enjoy
what you
it.
envisioned when you saw this studio that you wanted to create
Yeah,
back then?
yeah,
Was there something different that you wanted to do? Because look, you were an intern, you were doing what you
yeah.
didn't like. And I was like, oh, you know, in future when I create a company, it has to be this way, this way, this way.
Yeah, of course, you know. I
But
think it was more on culture, the studio culture. I really like the idea of a group of designers sitting around and like talking about, okay, what can we do to improve this, rather than a very hierarchy style of conversation, you know. So what I used to like romanticize was like the idea of everybody in the room just collectively talking about design. And like it's okay even if your ideas are coming from non-experience, it's fine because you never know, it might work, you know. So I really wanted to create that culture, and I have that now at StudioThree. You know, all ideas are welcome. Of course, yeah, you have structure in a design practice, in a design company, you know. I don't believe in hierarchy. I don't believe like you do it because the boss said so. You know, the boss said something because he has experience, but you can question it.
Yeah.
You know, if you give a valid opinion, I will consider that opinion 100%. You know, I'm not gonna be like you're just an intern, you don't know.
Well, we
Some
definitely have our own blind spots as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you know, and I look forward to interns or fresh grads to like offer their idea because I'm like, hey, you know something I probably don't. You know, yeah. So
How do you navigate then? Um, Changing from the path of being a designer to a business person and navigating the challenges in the industry. You know, then you start realizing, oh, the industry has so many different things you gotta
yeah,
work around.
I think definitely like because in our line of work, you know, we have the privilege of working with business owners, right? Especially when we do commercial projects. So you know, my mom gave me this advice. She said, Fee, you do know when you're talking to this client, that client, you know, they own that company, right? Those are business and businesswomen, like businessmen, businesswomen. Those are entrepreneurs. Those are CEOs. Yeah, you're gonna engage them for like 3-4 months, but this is a golden period for you to learn from them. You know, so that's when I started to read because my mom,
Oh, I love that, man.
yeah, she was an entrepreneur. She was a very successful entrepreneur in her time. You know, I look up to my mom as a mentor, as a business mentor. So she said, talk to them, get ideas from them, because who else are you gonna? What, you're gonna go to a business school, Harvard? You don't have time for that, right? So every time I deal with a project and a client, I also dive into like their work ethic and how they scale their business. So I pick up like lessons and experience from my clients, to understand how they navigate business. And then I try to apply what works for me. Yeah.
That's great though.
Yeah.
And especially when you have that hybrid of different sort of
Yeah.
businesses that you put,
Yeah.
and you find that thin gap that it's applicable to your
Yes.
business.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like in terms of managing people, those are things that interlap with our business. Even though we're doing different products and different services, it's really about managing people and how you view your organization and how you invest in your funds and things like that. Yeah.
So having run your studio for like 5 years, how do you envision the next 5 years to be?
Well, I hope we survive the next 5 years. That's one.
You definitely did survive a very huge one, the
Yeah,
last five
yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah,
5 years.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
there's a rule, right? If you stay in business for 7 years, you should be able to sustain, right? Well, I guess the next 5 years, I have a vision that within the next 5 years that I'm going to acquire or purchase our own office, right? And I want to develop like a commercial space below our office, our studio, so it's accessible to the public, and we can like create an interesting program there. Whether it's a cafe or a
Love
lifestyle
that, man.
store or museum or gallery, and upstairs will be our studio. So me and my business partner, we're looking at how we can scale the business right now and invest in property, and then really make sure that StudioThree has like a proper HQ and just build from there. That's our 5 year plan now.
Sweet, sweet. I love that.
And
Yeah.
also I'm manifesting right now because I really want to jump into hospitality design. So I really like, because I love graphic design as well, right? So I really want to take on a project that not big, not like a huge hotel, but like a small like little boutique hotel where StudioThree gets the opportunity to like really develop the design direction, like all the way from the wayfinding to the uniforms to the restaurants and the rooms. Yeah, so that's something that I'm hoping to penetrate into in
I
terms
love
of
that, man. I think
project.
it's
Yeah,
also something that we should shine some limelight on
yeah.
how important these wayfinding signages are.
Oh yeah, man.
And that's where I always like emphasize to my team, it's like,
Right.
oh, do you have a section where you talk about like how to go to the toilet? How
Yeah,
does it feel,
yeah, yeah.
going through that,
How
that
how
journey?
does the interior of the building like communicate with you that the restroom is there, right? Because to me, like the wayfinding of a space really is like the charm of the space.
Yeah.
Like when you see a space that has like very well executed or very interesting wayfinding, you feel like, wow, you guys really considered that.
Yeah.
It speaks so much
Small
about the
little
space.
touches, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it speaks to you. The space speaks to
Yeah,
you,
yeah. If
Yeah.
if you travel, I mean, if you go to like Australia, or you go to like anywhere in Scandinavia, like the way they considered graphic design and wayfinding, it's so meticulous and so expressive that it really you just have this like you can feel that these people are really like creatively driven. I love spaces that wayfinding is not an afterthought. If you go to like government buildings and there's a piece of paper that they print that says like restroom, right? And then they tape it on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm
Then
like,
change it every other week, lah.
no, they don't even change it. I've
Change
seen
it,
I've
it
seen the
turns
same
yellow, lah,
I've seen the
kan?
same piece of paper there
Yeah.
for like I don't know, like 2 years. I'm like, that's it. Nobody came here and said, can we put like a
It's
acrylic
super
or something?
cheap, acrylic and stickers, nowadays.
Yeah. It's not about price though. It's about thought. There's
Yeah.
no care for
It's the priority that has been put all the way down there,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that's the problem. I mean, this is a whole different conversation, but it all speaks on what policies care about. When policies care about the human experience, they care about how people feel in a space, then these kind of things will be detected a different way. Yeah. So
Yeah. That's where you see cookie cutter government buildings everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. And
And
that's when
or you see very like if you go to Putrajaya, right? I love Putrajaya's like architecture, right? Because if you look like at car ads like Honda and Toyota and stuff like that, right? I don't know if you can say brands, whatever, but like if you see like commercials and they shoot it in Putrajaya, right? And it looks like, wow, this is San Francisco or something, but it's not. It's like Putrajaya. But you go inside those buildings, you have like it's like empty, like chairs are like just like randomly placed. Yeah, so that means they care how it looks, but they don't really
From
care
the
how
outside.
it functions.
Yeah.
So that speaks a lot about how they treat the users of the space. That's where interior designers come in. But they don't want to engage interior designers, maybe because it save costs. So all these compromises affects the users of the space, you know. So
How much do you put yourself to creep into these scope of work? For instance, just now you mentioned like you don't want to just do interior design for a hotel, but you want to work all the way down to their
yeah,
tissue, their
yeah,
apron, their
yeah,
logo, their
yeah,
wayfinding, right? So on the projects that you have worked with,
yeah.
which one kind of strike your mind in terms of sort of achieving something, a part of something that you really like, aside from just doing interior design?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like I do not want to overstep my role as a designer.
Yeah.
You know, like I respect graphic designers and I respect artists, and like shout out to like people like Pamela from Posting Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are great at doing multidisciplinary work, right? And but I guess for me, like I mentioned just now, specifically like a hotel project, a boutique hotel, because that is a project that I've envisioned exploring not just the interior aspect, but also the graphic, also the uniform, also like some of the cutleries. I because that's it's like a preference of mine. It's like a personal interest to develop that for a hotel. You
Mm.
know, so I don't think I have this mindset for all project. You know, I don't try to if I'm doing like a retail project right now, I'm not going to interfere with non-interior design related stuff. You know, because specifically for me, I've always envisioned hotel where I
Mm-hmm.
get to like sort of introduce my own like flair on the fashion and the
Mm,
graphic.
mm,
Yeah,
mm, mm,
yeah.
mm. Which part of like the entire business that you're working on is the most challenging?
You mean for my practice? I think what's challenging is to nurture employees to becoming more uh what's the word? I guess for me I want my designers to feel connected with the goals that we have,
Mm,
right? And there's a fine line between because I own the business, so my attachment to the business and the success of the business, no one can match that, and I understand that, right? It's a reality that I have to accept. I cannot expect employees to match my enthusiasm and passion for the business, right? They will not bleed for the business. So for me, the challenge is to find the balance on how do I motivate you to care about the business and push you to be the best for the studio, but at the same time understand when to like lower my expectations when I need to. Because I mean, I've been in the industry for 10 years, right? So I've had multiple employees. And as long as you're an employee, as long as you work for Studio 3, you work with Studio 3, like I will die for you in that sense, symbolically. I will never like throw my own team under the bus. But the minute they leave, right? Then you start to see what they like disregard about because for me my lens I call it naive. If you are working with me, I'll protect you no matter what. But the minute you leave, then I start to see like, oh, you actually didn't really care, or you did this, or you lied to this supply. Like there's so many things that unfold, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah. So that's when I realized, okay, no one really cares about the company as much as the business owner.
mm,
So that's a reality that I'm slowly starting to adjust because I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional person, very sentimental. So like I get attached very easy. So the older I get, the more I'm trying to like
detach.
detach myself, to find that balance. Because I'm a dad, I'm a father of four, right? So at home, I play with my kids and I talk to my kids. And then at work, I carry that little bit of like fatherly instinct to my studio. I don't treat my employees like children, but like there is this protective nature of like, it's okay, like we'll figure it out.
Mm, mm-hmm,
There's no, I don't care, I just finish it by tonight, I don't give a shit.
mm, mm,
There's none of that in my head.
mm,
If I have to say that, I'm forced to say that.
mm,
I have to force myself to be like, I'm sorry, guys, but you have to finish it by 5.
mm.
It doesn't come naturally for me to be that kind of person because that's not how I am built as a person. So to be more assertive and more dominant is my challenge.
Is that something? It seems that the entire part that you're talking about, this challenge, is very much internally driven.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to manage
Yeah.
within ourselves.
Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, I need to go therapy. No, I'm joking. Yeah, it just because it's running your own studio. It's very personal, right? Sorry, I'm just gonna get a glass of water. A lot of me is in my studio, right? So I can't help but insert some of my own personal, like characteristics and philosophy into how I run my studio. So trying to figure out not to wear my heart on my sleeve and make the studio about me. That's why I never called it like I'm not like I cannot call my studio my name. You know, like because I don't want people to work for my name. I want people to work for StudioThree. I get really excited when people text me, like friends from high school, right? Like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, they DM me and say, Kash, do you work for StudioThree? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I work for StudioThree. You think you can connect me with your boss? Because like my boss wants to like, I'm like, yeah, sure. I love if they don't know that I run it, because it
Yeah.
made me feel like, oh yeah, my studio is like is standing on its own.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like, but it is me though, So a lot of the way things are being governed, or how the work culture is, how I push people is a lot of me, my personality in it. So trying to separate that is something that I'm slowly learning to do. Because we want to be a businessman too,
Yeah.
and being a businessman is I don't think it's something that I want to be. I want to be a creative first, But if I don't put on my businessman hat, then you guys not gonna get your salary in 3 months' time,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So unfortunately, like to all like employees out there, like if you do have a boss that is not a psychopath, not toxic, I guarantee you that all he thinks about is how to like pay the salary at the end of the month, So any like um assertiveness that is that does not cross the line is only because we're trying to meet targets and stuff, So if I can just sit down and design all day with my team and just like watch documentaries, like do like goofy stuff, I would. But
Them. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the landlord comes knocking at the end of the month, they don't care. So we have to care. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so much internal part. I think this does not only apply to just creative films like this.
Now
It
any
has
business,
to any business, right?
any
Yeah.
business owner, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Because any business owner starts from like wanting to solve a problem.
yeah.
Just that drive,
But
that
you know what's the challenge?
yeah.
Okay, if we own a car wash, right? Okay, the more cars come in, we wash it, we make today's KPI, right? Tomorrow, the day after, that's it. But design is not tangible. I cannot say, guys, today design extra hard. What do you mean design extra hard? There's no quantifying measuring
Absolutely
unit.
not, right.
So the nature of our work is very abstract somewhat. So we need designers to feel a certain way for them to get an idea and then for them to execute that idea. So that all that process before they have that good idea, you can't hold it, So I have to create an environment, and I have to create a discourse or conversation that sparks their thought process. I gotta take them out. Okay, let's go to a gallery, or let's go have lunch. Like you have to do things that is not the work for you to
To
get them
create
to
the work.
perform the work.
Yeah.
So only our industry has that issue. So when you bring in a non-designer, non-creative as your partner, as the project manager, whatever, they don't understand those things, right? So when I'm sitting down with my designers and we're just like talking shit, right? The idea is to create an environment where people can just talk and just express themselves, because that's like the warm up for their brain. I understand that, but the non-designers, they will see that as like you're wasting time,
Absolutely.
So
like,
trying to
what's the timeline? What's the timeline? What's the
yeah,
duration?
yeah. So
How
trying to
much time you
challenge
have, right?
that challenge is something that we struggle. That's why when we have clients, potential clients, like, oh, can you do this in 1 month? It's not that we don't want to do it in 1 month. We have to calculate the period where we're trying to wait for inspiration and stuff. Of course, I mean, don't get me wrong, the amount of work we got to put in, it's crazy. The contract documentation is already crazy, but like, you want something amazing and something like, oh, I want something different out of this world. Well, you can just pull it out of my ass like tonight.
Yeah, and can we start construction in 2
Yeah,
months?
yeah. So this is the what do you call it? The dilemma of like a creative studio.
How do you balance that?
I know I cry myself to sleep. Every I don't know.
You need therapy, bro.
I mean, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Despite all this, right? We love what we do, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not about. I never ask myself how you balance it. I just do it because I love it. I love going into the studio and getting a brief, like a fresh new brief is like yes, like okay,
Yeah.
all right. Like going through the layout, the square footage, okay, the objectives, the program, the budget. I'm like, I mean that part is exciting as hell,
Super
right?
exciting.
And then when you get that good idea, and then you have like this strong concept to like expand on, and like holy shit, it's like okay, this is fun. And then
Yeah.
of course you get bored after like once you're in the like the production phase, like it's like okay, now it's a bit redundant. Then you wait for the next project. You're just
Yeah.
chasing that next high,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't end though. I don't think I can do anything else.
Mm.
If you ask me, can I do anything else? No, I'm in this for life. Yeah. So that's how I
I
balance
feel it,
it.
man. I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel that passion.
Yeah.
Like the api is burning over
Nice. Okay, man.
here.
Let's spread it. Yeah. But things like this also helps me. Like when you ask me how I balance stuff,
I
it's
think
like
the
it's like
word, I
things
think
like
balance is
this.
too vague to
Yeah, yeah,
ask this
yeah, yeah,
question.
yeah.
More like how
Do you
you
navigate?
have so many different components in the business,
Yeah.
right? So you spoke a huge part of the design, and then that's where the production, the boring stuff come. Like, yes, boring and not boring,
Yeah.
but those are the
Not
things
boring
that
lah,
make
repetitive lah. Yeah,
repetitive,
yeah,
monotonous. But those are the works that actually make
yeah. The product.
the product,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So then you have the construction part. The
yes,
construction part plays like a
yeah.
huge
It's like
part.
it's
Yeah.
it's like the biggest exam lah. It's the main exam. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the highlight of the whole thing. Now that you
Yeah.
got all these really cool ideas, can you execute it? Can you make it come to life? You know? Yeah,
And so also the last 10% of the
yeah.
construction that actually
The last one,
determines whether it comes back in a
correct.
nice loop
Because
or not.
if you end that last 10% bad, everything that you did, they just don't care.
You're right.
Yeah, and I mean that's how the industry works, and that's why you have to give it your all the way to the end. You cannot like shortchange your client. You cannot shortchange the project. You have to see it through. Not even after it's done. Like post completion, you gotta pay some attention to it even more.
You know, not to generalize like
Yeah,
how most people view the industry,
yeah.
but what is that one thing that you felt that most clients should actually be aware of how this industry functions?
I think, I mean, let's not talk about fees because that I think everybody would just agree to that, right? Um, we are very underpaid, but to me, I think it's about timeline. I think the big not misconception, but like clients like to rush things, and because they see it from a business standpoint, or if it's for their home, they just can't wait to move in, right? So they're observing it from that lens. The more time it takes, the more money I lose, right? But I think they have to understand the nature of our work and inform themselves of what is it that we do, and that is why we require a certain time to develop the design. Like if a doctor has to do heart surgery on your mother, would you knock on the glass door and like, hey, can you hurry up? Or would you be like, yo, you're doing heart surgery on my mom, like take whatever time necessary that you need, because it's a very delicate process, it's a very complex process, but we don't get that to them it's like luxury, like "Ugh, you want time what, because you can just like chill." No, because I want to give it my best, and I know that with time we can formulate something much more holistic, much more detailed,
Yeah.
but they don't understand that.
Not to mention the processes that you have to put
Yeah,
into creating this
yeah,
environment of
correct,
thinking, right?
exactly.
You might not get it today, you
Nope.
might not get it
You
tomorrow.
might get it the last day of the week,
Yeah.
yeah, and the presentation is the day after.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I feel like that I think it requires us to sort of not educate, but like make it clear, to the public what is it that designers do, and sharing that. I think Malaysia has a very young, our design industry is still very young. Since Merdeka, it's only like 70 years, right? So it's relatively young, but culture and art and creativity has been around since we existed, but just the not commercialization, but just a more
Acceptance.
more understanding and description of what designers do is still relatively new in the industry. So Malaysians, the public may not understand or fully grasp what an architect does, or an interior designer does, or a light specialist does. To them, they can't compartmentalize that. Designer, okay, I pay you, can you do? So so things like this is doing great for the industry. So we appreciate what you're trying to do.
I think we need voices like that to really share
Yeah.
that, you know, that darker side. Well, not
Well,
darker side, it's like
a clear
the
perception,
clear
yeah.
perception, right? How about construction?
What about
How
construction?
do you how do you bring yourself being an artist, a designer into the world of construction? Because they are two
Yeah.
total opposite thing, but has to work
Yeah.
hand in hand. Yeah, they
I
kind
mean,
of work hand in hand.
lucky
Right?
for me, right? Lucky for me, I'm not a what's the word? I don't see myself as an artist, and I'm very flexible in that sense. You know, I've never been one to be like, no, no, it has to be this way. I've never been that adamant about. So I'm quite a realist. So it's easy for me to navigate with construction and my contractors when certain things cannot be realized due to either budget constraints or lack of skills. So I need, of course, a rationale to it, but when I have to make a decision, I'm able to, you know. And I envy designers who are very like protective of their designs to the point that they never take no for an answer. Because I feel like, oh man, you seem like a more authentic designer than me. Because I tend to
You give in.
give in.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, oh, am I a bad designer? Because I give in, you know. So but that's just how I am built, you know. Because I also want to see the product realized for the client. I don't want to delay things, or I'm also considering cost implications. So like that's how my mind works, you know. Yeah.
Some of those designers that you mentioned have this bad vibe around them amongst contractors. It's like, oh, why these designers so hold on to their principle that
Correct.
much, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, I spoke to some senior designers in the industry. They also they don't want the contractors to win in that sense. Like we should not let them like we should not like what's the word? We should not give in to not pushing the contractors and artisans to
Because we're
create.
not then pushing the boundaries of what we're able to
Yeah,
produce,
exactly. You know,
right?
so there is a challenge in balancing when to give in and when to like push. You know, and,
Yeah.
so
I think the reasoning and making one understand that is quite important because looking back during the 90s,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
or early 2000s,
yeah,
if our parents were to renovate a place,
yeah.
very likely you don't have a full set of drawings like what we have today, right? And I think up sini, then the think up's gonna be like a three by four, two by four.
It
It's
was just
gonna
your
be there.
dad. It was just your dad telling what. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
The brick is gonna be here until where my finger stops,
Uh,
right? And I do realize that contractors nowadays, the older generations are very accustomed to
that style.
requesting for drawings right now because everyone wants to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Back then, if you're gonna run that so much
Yeah.
VO, there's
Yeah.
no paperwork,
Yeah.
there's no trailing of it,
Yeah.
and it takes time. It takes time,
Yeah.
right? But my experience coming, we as designers coming into this industry, and then we start having to navigate ourselves within the construction,
Yeah.
dealing with different
Yeah.
types of people.
Yeah.
I think it's a skill set that people are not recognizing how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people are not built to really understand putting these two things together.
Yeah. I mean that separates good contractors and good builders and not so good ones. You know, and what we want is to work with those who are good. You know, and in order to be good, you need to evolve and you need to adapt.
Yeah,
You know, same as us, like as designers as well. There are things that we need to adapt to um, that we probably were set in our ways. Like you know, like for me, I never sketched in an iPad before. Right? I was very old school. You know, I love
the yellow paper.
yellow paper. Right? I love that. Um, and I had my moleskins and stuff like that. And then COVID happened, right? So it was difficult for me to communicate my designs to my client because like to my team and my client, like I can't take pictures of the sketch and send and stuff. So it was very annoying. So I was like, God damn it, I'll just get an iPad so I can just digitally sketch. So it's all digital, so I can just send immediately. I don't have to take a picture or scan. And now I can't sketch
Without.
without my iPad. You know, but it was
Habis.
something that I was so against because I'm like, ugh, all you iPad sketches are lame, you know, like just use paper. Like, why are you so scared of paper? Now I'm like, yo, this is like the best. Like productivity is like all time high. You know, yeah.
I have
So
to agree.
if
I
you see,
felt the same during COVID as well.
yeah,
Because I couldn't present an idea without having to sketch. It's so difficult. Yeah.
so iPad, you know,
And I see you're really, really embracing that
yeah,
through your
man,
stories and
yeah,
all. And
dude,
I love them.
yeah. I
Yeah.
would never have posted like my sketches and share my sketches or process before because it was too messy. It was too messy and I couldn't like present it in a clear way or in an aesthetic pleasing way, right? But then with iPad, it's like, oh, this is nice. I can share this. So it started with that, and now I look forward to like now when I sketch, right? Because one thing about me. So this is okay. This is a bit embarrassing, right? So like when I used to sketch in sketchbooks, right? And I would buy the same sketchbook. I don't sketch like random sketchbook, right? So I would buy, I'm not sure the size. I think it's like B5 or something.
B4,
B4,
yeah.
B4 moleskin, right? And I would sketch till it's done, and I'll buy new one. So I have like maybe 20 of those of
Wow.
like
You're one
five
of those
years.
those designers.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean that's
I
literally.
envy that.
So when I sketch, I sketch with in mind that okay, one day when I'm a great designer, right? They're probably gonna like archive this, right? I mean this is me dreaming lah, you know. So when I sketch with that in mind. So it means it's not random sketches. I put like numbers. I make sure my description is nice. So it's presentable sketches.
Annotations and
Yeah, it's
all.
annotations.
Uh,
So because in my head, one day they want
100
to.
years down the road,
Yeah,
someone needs
yeah,
to know, understand
yeah.
what is
They
that.
want to know who Kash is.
Huh?
So in my head, like, okay, I have a few sketches that are really like presentable. So that's how I sketch even now, right? So when I sketch on my iPad, I sketch with the idea of it being documented in mind. Other than communicating for my contractors or my team, is also like it looks good. So that's why once I'm done with the sketch to communicate to my team, it's easy for me to just like share it because it's made for sort of like a display or layman reading, right? So I like that I'm able to do that so efficiently because I've embraced
Now you just have to
iPad.
archive them
Yeah,
digitally,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So embrace technology and embrace whatever is new. That's the only way you can like adapt to.
So what's new that you're looking to embrace, imagine in the next 1-2 years?
Well, I guess new materials out there that I've completely like never looked into, and
Yeah, sometimes you get so caught up with the projects and then you
yeah,
say like, oh, new suppliers and all.
yeah,
But really have to look
yeah,
into it
and
because
and then like,
it
looking
just
at
opens up
yeah,
to.
and like China and stuff like that. I used to be very anti-China in the sense in my head, my perception was like, oh, China is bad quality, but it's not anymore. Like China is like top quality now. So it's like okay, so I'm embracing new materials from new suppliers now because the stuff that they have is insane. So I mean, softwares, whatever that's out there, we'll just give it a shot. I even tried AI once, not as the end product, but as like a form of like just okay, let's see what we can.
Well, you can do with
Yeah,
it, right?
So at the moment, I don't like it anymore. But like I tried it, and it didn't work for me. So I'm like, like it's, at the end of the day, I still have to design it back. So it's like I felt like AI was like it's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's like
Yeah.
so it's not something that is applicable in my work, and and like even like in terms of managing people, like how certain countries have like 4 day week work 4 day work days, right? Whatever you call it. I mean, like I don't know. Like now I'm saying no, but like because they're saying it's proving to improve productivity and stuff to just work Monday to Thursdays, right? Maybe so.
Yeah. I've tried the change of culture, but back in 2018,
Yeah,
19, my team sometimes used to work like past 7,
yeah,
8.
yeah,
Has been the norm
yeah,
that we always dine together, have dinners
yeah.
together.
That's
But
nice.
and then I love that, that's how I
Yeah,
envision the studio to be,
yeah,
dwelling in conversations.
yeah.
And then now we have morphed to a way that, work ends at 5:30,
Right.
right? And I felt like the productivity is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to, change the way
You
I
get used
get
to.
used to
Yeah.
it,
I mean, the thing about culture in a workplace, it should evolve. Because you're not working. I mean, there are some people that work with you for like 10 years, but a lot of people are changing, right? So it's not so much that you change your style or your approach, but it's perfectly fine to adapt to new things that might motivate the new generation differently. We cannot impose on something that worked for us 10 years ago if it doesn't work for the younger designers. But there has to be a balance, lah, because still have to lead. So what I tell my team is that look, I'm driving the car. Simple as that. But some of you might change you might be sitting in front, might sit at the back. We really have to like go with the flow as well. But what's clear is I'm driving the car. So you have to trust me to lead. So it's not the direction. We are trying to go to the same direction that all five of us in the car agree on.
Yeah, has to be.
It's not okay. We're gonna go to the theme park, and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to go to the theme park." Then it doesn't matter if I drive or I don't drive.
Yeah.
The point is, okay, we're gonna agree to the same direction, all right? But everybody's gonna do something to help us
To
get
make that
there.
happen. Yeah, you don't want to say you want to go Penang and then halfway through Ipoh you say, "Yeah, actually, you want to go
Yeah,
to, you know,
Singapore or something.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
So but you can stop the drive. You can have music in the car. You can stop music for a while. You can
yeah."
meditate if you want. Like there's so many things that you can do while you're
And
on the
everyone plays
journey.
a role because someone
Exactly.
will handle
Yeah.
the music,
As the
right?
person driving, you should not like no no no. My music all the way. Then you should just drive alone. So that's how I see myself and my team. I'm not trying to get here alone. I'm trying to get here with a team.
It's impossible as well.
Yeah.
So, say if you want to grow your team, right? Do you imagine having like 10, 20, 30?
I used to.
Used to.
I mean,
How
I
has that changed?
I don't know. I love Norman Foster, right? I mean, the office I'm renting right now is a Norman Foster design, Aquarius, right? So I've always liked their work culture and everything. But then I realized there's a certain entrepreneurship or business or corporation quality to it that I do not like, So it's too big. It's too, like he visits this. I don't think he even saw this building, So to me, the idea of that is like, it's a scale that I feel
It's
like,
baffling though.
yeah, it's a
It's
scale
absurd
that,
also.
yeah, it's a scale that I feel like, oh, like I can't even imagine what that's like. I like the intimacy that I have with the size that I have right now. Perhaps the only reason I think of expanding the team is just to make sure that we can cope with the
Complexity
workload.
and then
Yeah,
like,
it's not so much that I want a big company. I don't like a four-team company because I feel like there's not enough discourse. I feel like it'll just be me. My voice is the loudest. I want where my voice is as the leader, but it's not the loudest voice in the room. So I feel like a team of 8 to 10 is like is the biggest I would go because it has that nice balance. Yeah. Because when I was running with 3 people, it's just my voice in the room, and I don't like that because it's not a collective. It's just Kashui me designing with two whoever's. I don't like that. I think maybe that's where the musician in me came in because it's like everybody plays a part. You
can't
know,
be just one guitarist and a
yeah,
vocalist
yeah.
lah, kind of thing.
We're a band. We're not like because you have two type of musicians. You have a band, and then you have one artist, right? Okay, like Katy Perry, right? She performs. No one cares about the musicians. They're sessionists. They change this concert or this tour. It doesn't matter
So
who
they're called
plays.
sessionists.
Yeah, it's called sessionists. They change. They can have contracts. They can do it for like 1 year, but no one cares about the sessionists. But then you have bands like Metallica, or Guns N' Roses. You know the name of the guitarist, you know the name of the drummer, you know the name of the vocalist, and you cannot take one apart and like, it's okay, we don't really need the drummer. No,
Yeah.
it's not Metallica without
When one
Lars
leaves,
Ulrich. Yeah, yeah.
it's gonna
Yeah,
kind of fall
the
apart.
sound is gonna change a bit. But if you change Taylor Swift's bassist, no one cares, right? So I don't want to be a single artist. I want to be a band, with StudioThree, yeah. Because now we can produce things that are very like quality. Because I'm putting my ego aside because I know I have ideas, but I don't think I'm the smartest one in the room. I need
Yeah.
more smart people to work with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how I see myself.
Yeah. Over the years, I do realize that
Yeah.
sometimes you're always thinking about having someone to nurture and someone
Yeah.
but what if someone has more experience than you?
Yeah.
I think that's when things open up.
Yeah.
And I experienced that myself.
My project manager, he's been with me for 7 years. Dude, he's 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Actually, more. He's 15 years older than me, right? But see, because we have a good dynamic, he understands that I'm the leader. So he does not like, "Ugh, this guy's my boss, he's like 15 years younger than me." No, he's never done that in 7 years I've worked with him. He's always understood, Kash, you're the boss, you lead the way. But he has experience. So when he tells me something, I'm like, okay, I respect that. Okay, you're right. Yeah. So knowing that he has more experience than me, I've accepted or I've like have a good synergy when he needs to take charge of things. So when you find the harmony with people who have more experience than you, oh, I'm telling you, then
Yeah.
he puts out fires for me like crazy because he's older. He has that he's more seasoned,
Yeah.
So he asserts a sense of authority into the space that a 45 or 50-year-old, like a 30-year-old cannot do, perhaps,
do.
So
Speaking of that, how then you manage your involvement in the design through yourself or with the team. So how much involvement do you put? Like, do you do A to Z, or
So
at what
okay,
point do you let go?
I don't let go.
Never.
Um, I mean that there's always me guiding the team or the designer on how to navigate the issue. But I always let them, depending on, like, assuming this is a, like, if it's a huge client, a huge scale project, I'm the point man.
Okay.
Okay, but then there are projects where I'm not the point man and my designer will be entrusted to like lead the project, but I'm always at the back to like guide them on the concept development, and then on the design, the schematics, and then on the construction, sorry, the contractual documentation. I'm always there to advise and assess, but they get to be the face of the project with the client. Yeah, so um
Is it something that was it challenging to you having to trickle down that sort of thought process that you have to someone else, right? Because they definitely don't think the way you do.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't solve things the way you
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
right?
I think, I don't know when, but I've realized that I'm selective on which projects I would like fully engage with the client.
Right.
I've realized that, oh, some projects yeah, I'm fine. It's okay. You can lead. I think you're capable and you carry yourself very well. Just always run through us before you shoot anything out. But I'm perfectly comfortable with my designer like doing the engagement. Yeah. So I don't know when, but probably 2 years ago, I started to slowly let go, and focus more on projects that I want FaceTime with the client. So I'm privileged to be able to choose which projects I get to like. Yeah.
How's your typical day like? Like the things you do.
Well, I send my kids to school. Okay, I'm gonna start that early. All
I
right.
love that.
Okay,
Let's go.
I send my kids to school, and then I try to hit the gym,
Yeah.
and then I'll be in the office around 9. Right. So I like, but my company starts at 9:30. So I get 30 minutes of just like some me time, right? Where I just go through emails, or I like to read a little bit. Right. I love reading Monocle in the morning. Yeah, I've been buying it since I was 20. And then just to get some information in my head. Doesn't have to be architecture or design. And then the team comes, and then just go through the list, a quick one of, if it's not Monday. So on Mondays we have this thing called base camp. So it's like a 1 hour sit down. But if it's not that, it's just a quick like, all right, do this, is this okay? All right, good. And then it's free and easy. Like, only come to me when you need to. All right, because I don't like to micromanage. And then if I'm not going to sites or I'm not overseeing designs, because everybody just throws their design at me and I just have to review. Um, I try to meet with some of my friends in the industry or try to do stuff that's not office related. But I love staying at the studio. I like a full day in the studio. But if I
I love
can,
that as well.
yeah, I
That's
love that.
right.
And not just music and then just like
Yeah.
books
No
and stuff.
meetings and all.
Yeah, yeah. If I have a meeting at like 2 in the afternoon, like my whole day is fucked. It's like
I know,
I
right?
cannot
What's your ideal time for a meeting?
for it.
Like I set this for at 10. It was probably just cause it was
It's like
ideal
this.
for me.
No,
What about
if
you?
yeah, I would set meetings before 12 for sure. Like if it's like serious meetings and work meetings. Any meeting I set at 4 or 3, that means I want to end my day already.
For sure. Yeah.
Because I cannot go back to the office after a 3 p.m. meeting. That's just me now, you know?
Yeah. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, I pretty much meet with suppliers or new suppliers. I try to, because I'm the only one doing the networking and marketing and venturing out on new information, right? So I gotta do all those stuff with whatever free time I have. So that's why I love things like this, because like to me, like it's something that's outside of my office. That's why I do a lot of MID stuff, America stuff.
Yeah, do share a little bit about that. Like your
I'm not a council member. I was appointed by MIID to like um, be a subcommittee of this thing called I Am Reka. So I Am Reka is like a program that was initiated by MIID, the Malaysian Institute of Interior Designers, to sort of create like a community and program catered to young designers. Because MID has been around for, I think, about almost 30 years, right? As an organization for interior designers, but they wanted to create something that appeals to the younger demographic more, because there's a lot of designers who don't know what the road looks like to be a professional registered interior designer. So iAmerica is trying to bridge that gap, you know, to make it more casual and less
So what are
intimidating.
main activities and the goal of it?
Is to basically get interior designer graduates
Graduates, mostly graduates.
to register as MIID members, and then what's the word? In the long run, those registered ones become IDRs lah, to get the license. So I'm trying to pursue my license next year. So you gotta take the exams and everything.
What's the challenge, the main challenge to being an IDR? Because a lot of people practicing interior
Yeah.
design, they're not IDR. So what are the benefits, challenges?
Well, I cannot speak on that because I'm not an MIID council, you know, on the benefits and such. But I guess the challenge for me, from a personal experience, is just the lack of information.
Lack of
Yeah,
information to
you don't
know.
know, you don't know what you need to do. You don't know what makes you qualified to be an interior.
Right.
So I think it's the lack of information. So when we do events like under iAmerica, we don't play out the requirements and such. That's not what we do. We do what we're trying to do is create a community. So within the community, then it's like a safe space for you to speak and discuss and ask for help. And then we offer the guidance, or we connect you with the necessary members of MID to help you become members, to help you with your IDR exams, right? So the challenge is just, I think, the lack of information. Because if you ask me, I didn't know what MID was. I didn't know what the requirements. I didn't know jack shit until I got involved, and then I was like, okay, it's not that hard. Some is a little bit challenging, but anything that is worth you know, pursuing, is it can be of a challenge, you
Yeah, it
know.
has to be as
Yeah.
well.
So
There should be
in a
more.
way, you know, to protect interior designers and ensuring that we are a body of professionals and not just randos, you know, MID is encouraging everyone to go through the proper process. Yeah.
Where do you typically be able to find this process, like a clear one? The website,
Well, the
or you
website,
mind running through a quick one, like
I
how
I
it
guess
or?
the website or Instagram. You should follow MIID on Instagram, and you should follow I am Reka on Instagram. It's iamreka.my, and from that you can watch our sorry get the updates, go to the events, and then you meet people. I mean, at the end of the day, fundamentally, to me, the best way to like to get your MID membership and get your IDR exam is to meet people.
Yeah.
You know, because like online alone, because it's not like a hotel booking, you know, it's not just click 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 and done, you know. Yeah, so it's best if you meet, come to the next event that we're gonna do. It's gonna be out soon in September. And then you get to meet with the people, and that really like will help.
Yeah, the one that you invited me, I was like, unfortunately, it wasn't
Hey, no
around.
worries.
Yeah,
The next
so
one, there'll be more. You know,
so
there's always something. So we'll look forward to see
are
you.
they like
And
mostly like sharing sessions
yeah,
and
it's
just
like
hanging
dialogue. Like
out?
it's like this.
Dialogue.
It's chill, and then we chill. We eat
Lovely.
after that. This is really, and like the talk. That's where you get to hear the speakers share about stuff, and then after the talk, we have like a chill out session where we eat, we drink. So like it's really like fun and it's a vibe lah. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's really nice, really
yeah,
nice.
man,
I see you're really involved in it.
trying.
Not easy lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for the love of the industry. That's why we do it. We're
Can
not
really
paid.
feel the passion from you, man.
Hey, thanks,
Really,
man.
really.
Same ways, likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think that one skill you as we wrap this up a little
Sure.
bit, yeah,
Yeah.
that one skill that you wish you had known earlier and any designers coming in the industry should know about?
Um, I guess if I could like meet my old self back in
Yes.
uni, right? Like I really wish I was obsessed with materiality, and just understand how materials work. You know, like it was all about form and shapes and concept in school. But at the end of the day, like for me personally, like I think a good designer, a good interior designer, is a designer that really understands materials and how materials react and how they perform and how they work and how they feel. So if I was obsessed with materials during my uni days, right, I would have been a more informed designer, you know, because that is what we work with. Material is what we work with, you know. It's like being a chef, but he was more focused on the composition of the plate rather than the
Then
flavor and the
ingredient.
ingredients that you
Yeah.
use. You know, if you knew that pepper was spicy, then you can decide to add it or not in your dish, right? So for us, the same, you know, like materiality, like texture, like paint. Are we using wallpaper or are we using a timber or veneer wall paneling? Like, why? Because there's a texture to it, there's a warmth to it. So understanding materials, to me, is something that I wish I really like obsessed over back then, you know, so that the level that I am now would have been like of a different level, you know. So and yeah, I think that's all I have to say about
Appreciate it.
yeah
Appreciate it.
design,
Last
man.
question, right?
What's more? Let's
So,
go.
what would be that one advice that you would like, or a legacy that you want to leave
Yeah.
for the younger generations entering this industry?
Um, I guess the advice is that I think we should try to understand that what we do is it's not just about aesthetic. You know, it's not just about creating something pretty. What we do is trying to improve the livelihood of our community. You know, and we're not without sounding so like what's the word, um
Noble.
noble, you know. But like, look, like I remember growing up and the nicest cafe or restaurant was Secret Recipe, right? That was it. That was like the hot spot, you know.
Yeah.
Like back then, like if you had a birthday cake from Secret Recipe, like oof, this is like,
Yeah.
you know, this is T20 stuff, right? Now, like you have these amazing cafes like everywhere, right? You have places like Rex KL, you have like the Row in Changkat. I mean, you have all kinds of like spaces that are designed by architects and designers, and it has improved our well-being in the city and our experience with our built environment, you know, and understand that that's what our role is. And the sooner you understand that, the more you sort of uh, want to be good at what you do, you know? And then what we'll have, the outcome of that, the result of that is a city that is habitable, a city that's comfortable. It's like you just enjoy going out to KL and just like, we don't
Yeah.
have to, I'm not saying we don't have to travel, but like the idea of just going to KL and have a good time is what I'm trying to achieve with what we do. That all these spaces that we built as designers, you, me, and all these other designers out there, like we're responsible for shaping
Yeah.
our city, you know. And I love knowing that. Like if I
Yeah.
see a nice park, right, like a public park that you can just walk by, right, and then I see like a nice bench, I'm like, damn, who did this? Nice.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, man.
Yeah.
That's what I want to contribute. You know, I want people to say like, oh man, thank God for this nice little like pavilion in the middle of KL. I want to be the guy who did that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Love it, man. Wait,
Yeah, man.
thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me,
Appreciate
bro.
for sharing.
Yeah, this was fun. It's a nice way to start it. I wish it was coffee, but you know, it's good. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
Should have
yeah.
made coffee, yeah, next time.
But this is
Yeah.
nice, man. It's nice talking about what we do.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Cool, man. All right.
all right,
Thanks,
cool.
man.
What's the session usually like? Is this long or is it
No, I
considered?
think we keep it